Hello.
Hello, hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm all right. Yeah, that's nice. Having a afternoon coffee. Where in Germany are you?
Berlin. You're in the UK right now?
Yeah, I'm out in Somerset, which is like kind of an hour and a little bit over an hour with a train from London. Kind of decided to move out of the city finally.
Ah, okay.
After 20 years of being in big cities, it was time.
Yeah, I've noticed you've traveled a lot, lived a lot in different cities around the world, so you're settling down now.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite nice to have like a place like this as a base, and then like
Mhm.
I can travel around and be in big cities. Obviously, when you tour, you're also in cities and bigger towns all around. So it's quite nice to just like come out to a smaller place. I was kind of even thinking about it when we lived in New York. We were thinking about like moving out of New York City and move upstate to Woodstock, kind of like up, that kind of area, which was a similar thing. But then we never did it, and then we moved back to Europe, and then we were in London, and then it was like time to time to get out.
I've noticed there's kind of a long span of time between your self-titled Alberta Cross and following What Are We Frightened Of? And
Mm.
I just wanted to ask, what have you been up to during this span of time?
I mean, after the self-titled record, I moved back to Europe from America. So that was quite a huge thing, really. Just because I was, we were based over in New York for quite a long time, like 9 years. so so moving back to Europe was something I felt like it was time to do, but it was a big kind of change. And I moved back here, but I was also actually briefly in Berlin because my brother was there, so I kind of spent a little bit of time there. And then, but I was in based out of London. I think I catched up with life because before that self-titled record, we were literally touring flat for ever, basically,
Mhm.
because also in America, like America, the whole American market and like the industry there, that they really want you to never stop touring, kind of. So it's like a never ending, basically, road. I feel like I was just really fried. I did like a few pretty big tours on the self-titled, like I did 2 3 month long tour from America leading into Europe. That was just quite brutal. And after that, it's just like, you know what, I can't, you know, I can't do that stuff for a bit. So I feel like I just pushed pause and just like catched up with life. I mean, between the self-titled and that was kind of like what I was doing. And I did other projects too, like writing for other things and some side projects and bits and bobs. So I never like, I'm way too restless to not do anything. So so I always have to do something. I'm always in the studio doing something. But I kind of focused on that. And then I started, it took a while to do What We're Frying Off. Me and Luke, the producer, we kind of worked on that record for a bit because it was also like a little bit of a new start for me. So it kind of took some time to do that, and I wasn't really in a rush. I mean, before I released What We're Frying Off, I had a son, so I started up a family. So, all that kind of stuff happened as well. It's been nice, like just to do music and not tour, and then like start a sort of family. But now I'm kind of ready to, I'm ready to start doing some shows again, getting out of the house, getting kicked out. So I'm excited to start drop tunes, and I feel like it's me and the way I've been working with Luke, my producer, Luke Potashnik, is like he's almost taking up a kind of a role as like, because I started a band with Terry Wolfers, and it was like me and him as a duo, kind of with the band around us. But he left 2013, so I was alone then. So I did the self-titled by myself. So with Luke now, I feel like it's kind of back to, it's nice to have another person. It's a bit lonely otherwise. So I feel like now we're kind of like really on a creative sort of wave, like releasing this record, but also, I have so many songs for another record. So allowed. So I have to wait for everyone to be ready for me to do it.
You also said that with the self-titled kind of a phase came to an end, and it's definitely visually is the one side, but also musically, sonically, there's definitely a rebranding, I think, going on with
Mm,
What Are We Frightened Of?
mm.
And you mentioned Luke as the new collaborator. How long have you two been working together?
We started maybe like a year and a half before What We're Frightened Of, maybe a year before, to record it. And it was literally just really random. I was in London on a trip, and the people I work with like asked me if I wanted to go and do a session in East London, Hackney, where I used to live, with this guy Luke. And I was like, yeah, why not? Luke used to be in a rock band called Temperance Movement, so he's lived a similar life to me. He toured tons back. He stopped though. He didn't want to do it. He's producing more now, but he's an incredible guitar player and toured forever. So that's so I felt like, yeah, it's nice to meet up with someone like-minded and like do some writing. But we didn't really know what we were doing. We just kind of wrote a tune, but then the first song we did just ended up so like, oh, well, great, but also like very soulful and natural, and was like so easy to write together. And I really just liked his production style, and we basically love all the same music. So like our references are pretty like bang on with everything. So in America, I was working with a lot of like huge big times or producers, and I was a little bit tired of that vibe. Like someone coming in and like, I'm the man, coming into the studios gets a bit boring. So like I was ready to like just have a partner in crime kind of. So like me and Luke we bounce ideas and do a lot together, and even if like the core of the songs might come from me, like he really helps like bring all the songs home, and like production wise too, like makes it exciting to work. You
mentioned that your influences are kind of the same, and that the both of you like the same music. Would you like to touch a little bit more on that, go deeper, maybe name somebody that influenced you, even maybe changing from your early influences to where you're now?
It was a lot of like, a lot of new music that we kind of talked about. If it was like just, a sound sonically for a track, or it could be anything, or like a production thing that we're like, oh, that's kind of cool. If it's like Alex Cameron or something, or like a Kevin Morby kind of jam, or like so wide, it could be anything from like an old soul track to like something very contemporary and new. But Luke is really sort of tapped into what's happening right now. He's very like current with what he listens to as well, so it's quite nice to like production. Has been like quite fun.
How would you tell the story of your own career? In researching it, I kind of struggled to put all the pieces together with the big gap, and then your bandmate leaving, other collaborators, and all the traveling you did. So I'm curious.
I feel like it's been quite, I guess it's the same for a lot of people, but like a proper roller coaster, really. It's just life's been taking us wherever, like we got signed and obviously started in London and played there in another band. And then I kind of just started Alberta Cross. And because it was quite different from a lot of stuff that was happening in London, we got signed pretty quick. And then to Fiction over here in London. And we just toured loads in England, but then we were supposed to do another record with them after the first Thief and Heartbreaker, but then like Universal, fired 50% of their staff or something, so the whole thing just fell apart. So then we were like, we were signed to Geffen over in America as well. So we had a visa, so we were like, you know what, this is, even though we toured England for 2 years solid and had a pretty good following, we were like, let's just go back to America. And that led to us, moving there pretty quick. And then we were like in America, and we signed to label over there with a new management, that they wanted us to just tour America. Looking back at it, it's like certain things like that are always like a regret, because we were building up so much in England, and then like when you move to America, a lot of them Americans just basically just want you to tour America. And then you might come to Europe, but very briefly, and then it's like America, because it's so big as well. That's kind of the only like regrets, that we never like pushed them to like for us to come back and play more in Europe. But I mean, I'm here now, so, and we've definitely played in Europe a lot, but it's just been a bit of a like kind of roller coaster. And like when you're young as well, like you just kind of follow the group, follow what's happening, and like don't really question it. I don't know how to like sum up my journey as a band. I feel like it's just been doing it. I never really thought about the journey. I've just been in it. When you're in that and you tour all the time, you just don't have time to think about anything. And I feel like Alberta Cross, we toured most people, it was like in between the first proper full-length record in America and there was like 2 records there which toured solid, 4 or 5 years of like this touring, not stopping, like days off, maybe a week off, and then just like kept on going.
Would you say that this kind of stopping, taking a break, reconsidering is also a theme on the upcoming album?
I think so, yeah. And also like what happens, when you stop. Like for me, for example, it was like, my mind cannot catch up with me. Like, so mental health is like, you never think about your mental health, and then you stop and it's like, shit, I'm losing my mind. And then when you tour, you probably drink more than normal and do stuff more than normal, so you don't really think about what's going on. And then when you stop, life catch up with you, like kind of tap into like mental health and stuff. Like when you have time actually to like, and think about stuff, and it catches up with you, then I think that's one of the main things that kind of happened for me anyway. There's all the big changes. And also like leaving, I left Sweden when I was a teenager. And so like I've been abroad for much longer than I lived in Sweden, which is bizarre. Last record kind of touched on like this being in transit forever kind of thing. And this one is more about like when you stop the transit, like, and what happens then kind of thing.
I also, from the reading of the press release, I get it that it's about solitude.
Glow in the Dark for me was that one is pretty interesting. I mean, that we kind of not make fun, but like it's kind of joking a bit about. I think I started to write Glow in the Dark in Berlin when I was there. But it was a winter. It was really dark. I was exhausted, and I started to take happy pills, like antidepressants or whatever, for the first time in my life. And my medicine was called sertraline. And instead of so we were like kind of joking about that, played off that, and like what that is. And I'm singing circling, but it sounds like sertraline in the song. And it's kind of like you glow in the darkest skies, It was kind of about like what that does to you, like trying to go back on track, That's kind of what Glow in the Dark is about for me.
Why did you choose to put out Glow in the Dark and Mercy and Between You and Me as kind of the first previews to the album?
I feel like Mercy was when we brought, that was like the starting point, I feel like, for this new record. I sort of started writing Mercy at home, and then I sent some ideas to my friend Johan in Sweden. He's a bit of a Brian Eno guy. He just like makes all these insane landscapes sound-wise, sonically, like, so he sort of started to do that. And then we brought that to Luke's studio, Wool Hall, over here in Somerset. And Luke sort of added these up, like kind of upbeat, bigger drums to it and stuff. And it really started to take shape, and it was really exciting for us sound-wise and production-wise. And the song felt really strong. And the lyrics just happened. I wrote them in very quickly. And I feel like that's like, it just felt like when Mercy was written, it was like, okay, now we know what direction we take in the record, pretty much. So that one was pretty obvious for me. That was like, when the record company asked me, that was kind of like, we should definitely drop that one first. And I'm glad that they wanted to do that as well. And then like, as far as like Glow and Between You and Me, that's more like just, we're going to drop 2-3 more songs before, or 2 more songs, I think, before the record comes out, and it's only 10 songs on the record. So I feel like Mercy and the title track, Sinking Ships, they sit together and kind of represents like this record, the emotion of this record for me.
The video of Mercy is influenced by paintings of Christopher Guy.
Yeah.
And what made you choose like this kind of aesthetic approach?
I got introduced to him by my friend Lewis, this an old friend of mine that's like kind of in the art world, and he introduced me to Christopher's art quite early on, like when we were finishing off the record. And he's also based in England. He's out in Essex, kind of north. I'm kind of blown away that he's letting us use his art. It's basically like his it's got a series called like Sea at Night, I think it's called, and it's like quite a lot of the paintings, and we're basically using all of them for this project, like for this record. So like every single is one of his paintings, and and like the album cover is his painting. There's going to be two more singles, I believe, after this, and they're all his paintings. And yeah, just really stoked that he let us do it. It feels like it really works with the music. When I saw Mercy, the first cover, like the Mercy's cover, I haven't felt that way before in a long time. Maybe my first mini album, we were working with an artist in London as well, like a friend. That felt quite like that really fitted the music. When we shot the video in Barcelona, he was there with us, like helping us with the video and stuff, and it's been quite like a part of the journey now. So a good feeling, and I'm hoping I can use his stuff for my next record too, if he let me. Just really fits. Yeah, it's been inspiring, like the videos too, really.
You also mentioned that there's other material or other music coming out in the future.
I think we're focusing on this, obviously, this record now. But I have tons of music written, not recorded yet. Or like, recorded. I've got it recorded in my studio, but like not. I haven't taken it to Luke or anything yet. But yeah, no, I think, it's ready to go when the time is right to do another record. But like, I definitely been on a good creative ride, more than usual, because it's not often you have like almost a whole record lying there waiting.
Will you be back on? You will be back on tour, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Around release week, we're starting up doing stuff. But I know I'm doing England and Netherlands or something in April, and then in May I think we're thinking like going wider Europe, like definitely Germany and all around, I think.
Back to the US as well.
US. I mean, that's one thing I would never do massive long tours like that ever again. I mean, I should never say never though. The way I was doing, I love touring, but the way I was doing touring was like not the best way of doing it. I think you can do. I mean, in Europe, you're lucky. You can go and do 2 weeks and come back and then do another, whatever. It's easier. I just think in America, when you do, like 6-week runs and stuff like that, it's just mental.
About your creative process and taking ideas to the studio, writing, producing it, how does it look like in detail?
I guess it depends, but I mean, normally a lot of the new stuff, like I've been sitting in my studio by myself and I kind of play my guitar through my pedal, through my amp, and then like I've been plugging in my vocal mic into the amp too and using like the reverb from the amp just to get a vibe. And I'm just sitting it's basically like sitting in a cave, just been kind of jamming stuff. That's how a lot of stuff been starting. And it's more like kind of melodies and like structure up songs like that I've been doing lately. And when stuff feels exciting, I track it, I record it, even just like on my phone. Or like with Luke, it's been helpful not to do too much. So I kind of let him in quick so he can like add his, production ear or whatever as well. Or like if I start to record it on my phone or something, then I'll start to think about some lyric ideas. Chords and melodies that always come first, really. And then if you're lucky, sometimes the lyrics just like lands, comes down from nowhere and you just like sing it. Or I'll listen to my voice recordings and I'm like, oh, I'm almost singing the whole tune here, And sometimes the lyrics takes forever. It's always a few songs that is like, I remember on that self-titled record I was doing in New York when I was like 14 tunes I had to write lyrics to, and I had like 2. So I remember just like taking books and like walking down to Williamsburg waterfront and it's like just trying to squeeze out the last lyrics, which is quite painful, really. But ideally, like a lot of the lead stuff will come out like automatically just from a vibe. That's normally the best songs.
All right.
But yeah, thanks for taking your time, mate.
Thank you very much for taking your time.
No worries.